Mormonte Carl, a mercenary, demands their location with aggressive confusion. Lyle, a woodworker, trembles as he admits to complete memory loss regarding his arrival. A heavy-set man echoes the sentiment, his panic rising with the confusion. A red-haired woman mentions her home in a remote forest, equally bewildered by the displacement. Hanisrata keeps his introduction brief, claiming the simple life of a farmer. The group spirals into theories of wizardry and kidnapping as panic sets in. A small fairy interrupts the chaos, announcing a dimensional rift event initiated by her master. She identifies herself as Azel, the facility manager, hovering above them. Mormonte snaps, accusing the creature of abduction. Steel flashes as he draws his sword, eye intent on coercing answers. Blue energy crackles around his eyes as he threatens violence against the manager. Azel sighs, bored by the predictable outburst of aggression. A sudden force strikes Mormonte down before his blade can connect. The system logs his immediate death, citing a penalty for rule violation. Azel smiles coldly, framing the execution as necessary self-defense. Terror silences the group as she demands absolute obedience moving forward. A holographic interface materializes, prompting the formation of a combat party. Azel floats before a massive gate, declaring the start of the dimensional rift. She reads the roster. Lyle, Ranto, Marlin, Calcard, and Jackson are up first. She points to the glowing portal, offering a choice between the mission and immediate execution. Han intervenes, advising the terrified draftees to request weapons from the master. Azel concedes the logic, acknowledging that equipment improves survival odds. She accesses the system console to process the requisition. Notifications scroll by, confirming the grant of basic steel blades and bows. Han urges them to equip the gear immediately before the window closes. The civilians grip their new weapons, their hands shaking with dread. With the mercenary's corpse vanished, Azel orders the team into the blue light. They step into the rift, leaving the safety of the waiting room behind. Han explains to the redhead that their role is simply to wait and kill. A notification abruptly announces Marlin's death in the field. Jackson follows seconds later, confirming a total rout of the first party. Azel panics as the status screen shows a complete wipe on the very first floor. She pivots to the remaining survivors, ordering the second group to prep immediately. An older man attempts to feign illness to avoid the slaughter. Han takes the lead, sword in hand, dragging the reluctant party forward. They emerge into a temple-like antechamber, the air heavy with tension. A status window marks their location as main dungeon, floor 1. Han steadies his breathing, focusing entirely on the imminent threat. The redhead, Jenna, stares around in shock at the sudden shift in reality. Goblins materialize from the shadows, screeching their attack cries. Han delivers the ultimatum: fight now or join the dead. The older men break formation to flee, only to slam into an invisible barrier. Han watches their panic with cold detachment. He commands Jenna to fire her bow while he holds the front line. He mentally discards the panicked men, focusing only on viable assets. A goblin charges, its axe raised for a killing blow. Han realizes with a jolt that his farmer persona has never held a weapon. Internally, he reclaims his true identity: Seojin Han, the gamer. He recognizes the mechanics of this hellscape as the RNG game Pick Me Up. He raises his shield just in time to deflect a crushing strike. Memories of the game's loading screen flash through his mind. The objective is clear: climb the 100-floor tower using summoned heroes. Just yesterday, he was a regular player grinding an event on his phone. He recalls the hero ranking system spanning from 1-star fodder to 7-star legends. The Transcendental Dungeon event had promised high-rank rewards. In this game, our death is absolute, erasing stats and gear permanently. He notes the fear status debuff crippling his party members' stats. A memory surfaces of a glitched level 999 entity he once encountered. That anomaly had decimated his max-level squad in the game. During setup, the naming system had malfunctioned. It auto-assigned him the handle Wuteva against his will. That glitch marked his entry into this world as a master. A prompt asking to proceed with the tutorial sealed his fate. Now he embodies a 1-star unit in the burning tutorial stage. The system promise of countless heroes feels like a cruel joke. A goblin impact shakes him back to the visceral present. He parries clumsily, his stats barely sufficient for survival. The sensory overload forces him to question if this is a game or reality. Your every texture and mechanic mirrors the game he mastered. A summoning circle erupts, depositing a new warrior into the fray. A notification confirms the arrival of Shay, a 4-star hero. Shay stands confused but combat-ready, identifying herself as a knight. Han introduces himself, relieved by the arrival of high-stat backup. Shay mocks his amateur stance before engaging the enemy. She decimates the remaining goblins with practiced ease, taking MVP. Han accepts the vast gap in power between their ranks. The facility gate opens, signaling the availability of the merge function. Han realizes with horror what the inexperienced master is planning. Azel chirps happily about the master waiting for them. She recognizes Han from the leaderboards but is puzzled by his form. Han asserts his identity as Seojin Han, the top-ranked player. Azel Asel is visibly shaken by the presence of an Earth human in the system. Before the conversation can finish, Han is pulled into the synthesis chamber. The UI shows a catastrophic error, merging a 4-star into a 1-star. Shay begins to dissolve into data, confused by her deletion. She smiles sadly, assuming she simply wasn't chosen for the journey. She entrusts the path forward to Han as she fades completely. Han emerges alone, furious at the waste of a powerful unit. The merge mechanic sacrifices one soul to slightly boost another. He rages at the Master's incompetence for throwing away a 4-star asset. Back in the field, Han shouts tactical orders to Jenna to secure the perimeter. He fights with desperation, knowing his low stats offer no margin for error. Survival becomes his only goal, fueled by vengeance against the game. The mocking laughter of the level 999 bug monster echoes in his memory. The skirmish ends with a pile of goblin corpses and heavy breathing. Han reflects on the disposable nature of heroes in the eyes of a player. He sits amidst the blood, nursing his injuries and his resolve. He vows to leverage every exploit and mechanic he knows to survive. His status screen confirms his identity: Han Izrata, 1-star novice. As a 1-star, he knows he is statistically destined for the merge grinder. His growth rate is abysmal, demanding extreme effort to compensate. He commits to a brutal training regimen to break his stat caps. Mental fortitude is just as critical as physical strength in this hell. The next morning finds him pushing his limits in the training yard. Jenna interrupts him, confused by his intensity after the battle. He bluntly explains that training is the only alternative to dying. Jenna absorbs the reality of their indefinite imprisonment. She grabs a bow, her expression hardening into determination. Han notes a 4-point stat increase, decent for a 1-star rookie. Jenna asks for his guidance, recognizing his superior understanding. Han summons Asel, needing to verify his system access. Asel manifests, annoyed as hell at being treated like a help desk. Han reveals he can see the hidden UI elements and status windows. He confirms he can read the Master's system messages directly. He vents his frustration about the wasted 4-star merge. He queries the time dilation between the waiting room and Earth. Asel clarifies her role as a facility manager, not a game master. Han outlines the long-term goal: clear 100 floors to escape. He explains that new heroes will be summoned to replace the dead. Han discovers that supplies in the waiting room refresh daily. He concludes that manual training is far superior to the game's auto-training. He emphasizes that panic is a lethal status effect that must be conquered. Low-rank heroes must grind to unlock the potential that high ranks are born with. 3 days of grinding yield 2 new combat skills for Han. Asel announces a login event. The Master is summoning recruits. 3 men appear in the square: Toby, Yelsons, and a 3rd recruit. The dungeon gate grinds open, signaling the start of the next mission. Han orders the new arrivals to arm themselves immediately. The recruits freeze, demanding to be sent home instead of fighting. Han physically forces them into line, knowing hesitation means death. The party steps through the portal to floor 2. The environment shifts to a dense forest, introducing new threats. Wolves and goblins emerge from the tree line. The new recruits are paralyzed by the sight of the monsters. Han takes command, assigning Jenna to cover fire duties. He notes with approval that Jenna has shed her fear debuff. He engages a wolf, using his shield to jam its jaws. A clean thrust ends the beast, proving his training effective. He confirms his movements are sharper and stronger than before. He pivots to intercept another attacker, maintaining momentum. His shield fractures, a stark reminder of his low-tier equipment. The battle concludes with the terrified recruits surviving by luck. The reward screen grants gold and crafting materials. Without warning, the scene shifts directly to floor 3. Han realizes the Master is speedrunning stages without breaks. He deduces the Master's daily login pattern from the mission timing. The recruits demand an explanation for the relentless combat. Han snaps that survival is the only explanation they need. He contrasts their panic with the discipline of higher-ranked units. He wonders if high-rank heroes retain their past memories. He decides to prioritize his core team, Jenna and himself, over the fodder. He strikes a panicking recruit to snap him out of a hysteria loop. Jenna watches him, fear mixing with respect for his ruthlessness. Combat continues to push Han's skill proficiency higher. He takes a blow meant for Jenna, reinforcing their alliance. A system message grants him the pain tolerance skill. His separate weapon skills merge into a unified combat technique. Back at base, the Master upgrades the facilities. Han watches Jenna train, acknowledging her potential value. The recruits complain about the potato-only diet. Asel explodes at their ingratitude. Han notes the facility upgrades as a sign of the Master's investment. Clear rewards improve, offering better resources. Han enforces a strict no-fight, no XP policy. The Master repeats floor 1, choosing a safe grind strategy. Jenna beams as she earns the MVP title for the stage. Han secures gold for the Master, cementing his utility. He warns Jenna that this pace will not slacken. The Master initiates another merge session. The names of the useless recruits are called out. Han watches impassively as their inaction seals their fate. He explains that the Master views contributions contribution scores, not excuses. The selected heroes are herded toward the merging center. One man begs for salvation, but Han turns away. Jenna witnesses the man dissolving into light. Han states coldly that the weak are fuel for the strong. A final notification confirms Toby's deletion. Han clarifies that disappearance is the only exit for the useless. He tells Jenna that survival means becoming indispensable. The next day, Jenna formally requests advanced training. Han agrees to teach her, contingent on her absolute obedience. Aaron, one of the recruits, apologizes for his cowardice and asks to learn. Han hands him a spear, accepting him into the fold. He outlines the tactical triangle of sword, spear, and bow. He establishes a basic formation for their three-person cell. Aaron struggles physically, but refuses to quit. He shares that he has a younger sister waiting for him. Han smiles, recognizing the power of motivation. The master builds a forge, unlocking crafting potential. Estelle tries to pull rank, but Han dismisses her. Han reveals his past identity as Loki, the strategy guide writer. Estelle gasps, recognizing the legendary player ID. Han asserts his dominance as a former top-tier master. He provides his account details for verification. Estelle confirms the data and instantly becomes a fan. She is flustered to meet a gaming legend in the flesh. She wonders if she has been rude to a god of the game. Estelle explains the waiting room tower houses 20,000 potential units. Han deduces the current master is an Earth human. He realizes the heroes are real people pulled from the multiverse. Estelle confirms her limited administrative authority. Han considers the implications of infinite worlds. The game's infinite content was actually a harvest of real dimensions. The weight of Shay's death settles on him, real and heavy. He praises Jenna's rapid adaptation as prodigious. He notes Aaron's slow progress with concern. Estelle mocks Aaron, but Han shuts her down. Han orders the warehouse opened to access materials. He decides to utilize his crafting knowledge to gear the team. He enters the forge, ready to work the metal. He processes raw materials gathered from the dungeon runs. His hands move with the memory of countless crafting sessions. He produces a set of C-rank weapons, bow, spear, and shield. He halts production to avoid triggering system suspicion. Jenna wields the new bow with lethal precision in the next fight. The team marvels at the performance of the crafted gear. Harpies swarm them on floor 4, i.e. testing their anti-air capability. Aaron freezes as a harpy dives, paralyzed by fear. Jenna slaps him, shocking him back to reality. Han orders them to trust the gear and hold the line. They clear the stage. The rewards substantial. Aaron apologizes, but Han tells him to save it and focus. Han mentally tags Jenna and Aaron as his primary assets. He thinks of his old lieutenants, Cirrus and Yulnet. He wonders if his former heroes are out there in the tower. The dormitory expands to level 2, signaling growth. A restaurant appears, promising an end to the potato diet. The training center upgrades to level 2. The facilities gleam with new polish. The workshop evolves into a full equipment factory. The town square expands, resembling a true settlement. The group stands in awe of the base's transformation. Han realizes the master is injecting real cash to speed up progress. Estelle confirms the purchase of a premium starter package. The master initiates a massive 10-hero summon. New faces materialize in the expanded square. The mix includes high-rank and low-rank summons. Confusion reigns among the new arrivals. Han shouts them down, establishing immediate order. Estelle sorts them by non-combat utility: carpentry, smithing, cooking. Han notes that utility roles are safer than combat roles. He warns the combat recruits that uselessness is a death sentence. He tells Jenna that those who fail floor 1 warrant no sympathy. A notification confirms the death of Teddy from the second party. The remaining recruits, Dika, Deckard, Ziegler, and Chloe, stare in horror. Aaron asks Han to help train the newcomers to improve their odds. Jenna groans about the food, sick of the endless potato diet. Han remarks that the master likely filters out complaints, seeing only data. He asks Aaron for his kill count, which stands at a singular 1. The group enters the new restaurant, hopeful for a menu change. Jenna dreams of steak, though Han manages her expectations. The meal is revealed to be potatoes again, crushing their spirits. Han assigns Chloe as the designated cook to solve the food crisis. Chloe reveals a stash of seasonings that salvages the meal. The seasoned potatoes boost morale significantly. Han tells the group that combat skill is learned, not innate. He warns Dolph that lying about skills is a fast track to the merge chamber. The next day, training resumes with new faces in the yard. 3 teenagers, Jeed, Hansen, and Dika, join the drills with enthusiasm. Han approves of their dedication. Jenna's dagger proficiency levels up to 2. Aaron works tirelessly, yet his stats refuse to budge. Another 10 heroes are summoned a few days later. Jenna notes the crowding. Han predicts it will only get worse. The master grinds the lower floors, avoiding risk. Han knows the higher floors will demand a blood price. He teaches the teenage trio defensive formations. They stumble in practice, but their spirit remains unbroken. Han emphasizes that teamwork is the only survival strategy for low ranks. He acknowledges he could solo the current content, but needs a team for the future. The master's login frequency ticks up. The blacksmith begins churning out E-rank gear. Dolph is caught slacking, confirming his fate. A cell announces the push to floor 5. The scene shifts to a ruined city, desolate and gray. Han scans the empty streets, realizing this isn't a conquest mission. A recruit screams at the discovery of a skeleton. Han notes the dried blood. This place is a graveyard. He orders Jenna up a bell tower for a bird's-eye view. Jenna spots a massive dust cloud on the horizon. Han grips his sword, demanding the numbers. Jenna reports a swarm of thousands closing in. The mission updates to survival. Hold out against 1846 enemies. Panic ripples through the recruits at the overwhelming odds. Han explains the goal is endurance, not total kills. He orders a retreat to a narrow alley to bottleneck the swarm. The timer sets a 10-minute countdown. Han establishes the defensive line in the alley mouth. He assigns positions. Aaron right, himself left, Jeed and Hansen rear. He warns that a single breach means total party wipe. The timer starts as the first wave hits the barricade. The wooden barrier groans under the impact of the goblin charge. Han shouts to use the corpses to reinforce the wall. Jenna rains arrows down, thinning the climbers. The horde is endless, a suffocating sea of monsters. Aaron checks the time. Only 5 minutes have elapsed. Han screams at them to hold, refusing to die here. Jeed falters from exhaustion. Han orders a switch with Hansen. Han kills with minimal movement, conserving every ounce of stamina. The red eyes of the horde seem infinite. Han calls for another rotation as fatigue sets in. Jenna's quiver runs dry. She draws her dagger. Hansen takes a slash across the chest, stumbling back. Jeed is hooked and dragged into the goblin mass. Han hacks at the arms pulling Jeed, but the numbers are too great. Hansen falls moments later. My overrun. The line breaks, leaving Han, Jenna, and Aaron exposed. Han orders Jenna to switch with the teetering Aaron. 3 minutes left on the clock. Jenna scavenges arrows from the dead, firing frantically. A massive goblin brute crashes through the debris. Han witnesses Jeed's body being trampled underfoot. A notification marks Jeed's status as critical. Jenna hesitates, looking at the fallen comrade. A goblin lunges at her exposed side. Han intercepts the strike, taking a deep wound to the ribs. He screams at her to focus on the fight. He triggers a skill, his sword glowing. The sword and shield maneuver skill levels up to 5. A hidden berserker skill activates, flooding him with rage. He orders the survivors to cling to him as he creates a wedge. He fights with demonic intensity, holding the breach alone. He grabs Aaron, whose leg is trapped in a goblin's jaws. Han severs the mangled foot to free Aaron from the drag. Jenna hauls the screaming Aaron to higher ground. Jenna loses her weapon in the scramble. 30 seconds remain. The timer ticks. 32 seconds. Goblins latch onto Han's limbs, dragging him down. The timer hits 0. The monsters dissolve into light. Jenna collapses, sobbing amidst the gore. Han screams curses at the vanishing enemy. He checks his pulse. He is still alive. The reward screen grants gold and materials. Floor 5 is cleared. The daily dungeon unlocks. Han leans on his sword, lungs burning. He surveys the survivors, himself, Jenna, and the crippled Aaron. He helps Jenna to her feet. The waiting room ascends to the next level. He asks about the fate of the teenagers. Aaron confirms Jeed and Hansen are dead. They limp back into the waiting room, broken but alive. Han ponders the berserker skill that kept him standing. Recovery days pass in a haze of pain and training. Jenna trains obsessively, haunted by the battle. Aaron watches, leaning on crutches. Han hits level 9, capping his 1-star growth. Jenna feigns cheerfulness, but her eyes are hollow. The surviving slackers continue to do nothing. Han feels the bitter irony of the brave dying, while cowards live. 10 Earth days have passed. Han calculates the time ratio as 3-to-1. Asel announces a new summon event. 5 heroes appear, their gear visibly superior. Jenna eyes their equipment with envy. One introduces himself as Owen. Han realizes the heroes are quantum copies of real humans from other worlds. The game farms infinite realities for its units. Asel explains the new crafting options. Han takes Jenna to the daily dungeon forest for a mental break. Jenna lights up at the chance to hunt real food. She butchers a deer with professional ease. Han helps transport the meat. They encounter the queen of the forest, a rare spawn. The beast attacks with razor vines. Han counters, his new sword shearing through the plants. They down the queen, looting rare mats. Jenna is awed by the victory. They return with a feast of venison. The slackers drool as the smell of meat fills the room. Han shares the food but reserves the prime cuts for his team. The meal provides a fleeting moment of joy. Han explains the daily dungeon rotation to Jenna. Each day offers specific resource drops. They enter the Singmeal Highlands for stones. They find life herbs for potion crafting. Highland wolves ambush them. Jenna covers Han with precise arrow fire. They secure a water stone. Han finds peace in the simple grind. The master pushes to floor 6, an exploration mission. Dika joins the party. Han warns them to stay sharp. They spot movement ahead. Another party of heroes. It is the Manned Wolf party, composed of high-rank units. Avant, their 3-star leader, approaches with a sneer. He insults their gear. Han recognizes this as a PK-enabled zone. He assesses the threat. 2 3-stars, Avant and Edith. Edith. He opts for caution, hiding his strength. The master summoned these elites separately. System tips encourage party synergy. Han warns Jenna these are dangerous people. Edith, a thief, eyes them with predatory interest. She introduces herself to Jenna. Han intervenes, blocking the interaction. He correctly identifies them as former mercenaries. See Edith confirms his read. The master summons everyone to the square. Zaken, a 3-star barbarian, shoves through the crowd. Han refuses to be intimidated. The high-rank party is officially named Maned Wolf. Avant takes leadership. The elites look down on the 1-star veterans. Han's refusal to bow creates a standoff. The master begins a merge session to boost the new team. Zaken laughs as he absorbs 1-star sacrifices. Han watches the slackers die with grim satisfaction. Another 10 summon provides more fuel. The merge continues, a systematic culling. Zaken grabs a begging recruit. Han shields Jenna's eyes. Zaken powers up, roaring. The elites hunt down the remaining 1-stars for fodder. Han steps in to save a craftsman from Zaken. Sword meets axe in a shower of sparks. Zaken rages at the interference. Avant orders Zaken to stop. He acknowledges Han's unexpected strength. Han introduces himself as a simple farmer. The system marks Han and the Maned Wolves as enemies. Avant glares, sensing the lie. The dark-haired man mocks the group, dismissing them as nothing more than common thieves. He issues a direct challenge to a duel, his smirk radiating dangerous confidence. The long-haired swordsman accepts, finding the sudden aggression amusing. A system window confirms. Avant accepts the duel condition of forced merging. Han clarifies the terms, asking if the duel ends upon surrender. Avant agrees to the stipulation with a dismissive wave of his hand. The barbarian Zaken charges forward, confident enough to attack without drawing his weapon. Han enters a berserker state, his eyes flashing with crimson energy. He sidesteps the massive axe swing with practiced ease. He uses the giant's momentum to slam him into the ground with overwhelming force. He raises his sword, prepared to deliver a finishing blow. He twists the giant's arm, not demonstrating the vast gap in technical skill. Zaken screams in agony and surrenders immediately. Han stands victorious over the defeated elite, his point proven. The recruits watch in stunned silence, awed by his unexpected strength. They thank him profusely for saving them from the bullies. Han dismisses their gratitude with a cold glare and walks away. He notes the master is angry about the disruption in the waiting room. Jenna asks what the sudden gathering is about. The system announces a merge process for the underperforming heroes. The recruits panic as their names are called out one by one. Han asks Jenna if the others have contributed anything useful. He condemns them for being lazier than livestock in a survival situation. Han explains they will be merged into the stronger units as fuel. The merge completes, dissolving the selected recruits into particles of light. Edith levels up, gaining a new skill from the sacrifice of the others. Han warns Edith not to become a freeloader in his camp. He challenges anyone who disagrees with his methods to fight him right now. Jenna watches him, realizing his ruthlessness just gave them a path to survive. The next morning finds the base calm after the purge. Han visits the bakery to secure better supplies for his team. He calls Edith to the training center for mandatory practice. He orders her to use her knife, intending to test her limits. He spars with her, evaluating her proficiency with the dagger. She attacks with ferocity, but her movements lack discipline. She moves fast, but he easily deflects her strikes. She questions his strength, asking if he was a mercenary in his past life. He tells her the gap in their strength will close as she gains levels. He emphasizes that effort, not just rank, determines growth here. He warns the others that support slots are limited and competitive. He questions a new recruit about his background. The man introduces himself as Ursher Roderick. He claims to have been a porter for a free company. Han accepts him, seeing the potential of a mercenary in his demeanor. He assigns the remaining recruits to their designated roles. The group gathers to discuss the formation of combat parties. Jenna asks if the master decides the party compositions. Han takes charge of the planning, overriding the system defaults. He explains he will not abandon anyone who pulls their weight. Han proposes 2 leaders for the groups, himself and Edith. Jenna protests, wanting the prestige of being a leader too. Edith questions the need to split their forces. Han explains that concentrating all strong fighters in one team is a strategic risk. He sets up targets for a quick assessment. He designates the teams by drawing straws to ensure fairness. He looks at Edith with a serious expression. He tells Edith she will be left behind if she cannot keep up with the pace. The system displays the final rosters for the 2 parties. They enter a rift to test their new formation in combat. Monsters charge from the darkness, testing their readiness. Han defeats a monster with a single clean strike. He cuts through the enemy lines. Leading by example, Jenna asks if they should finish off the stragglers. Han searches for resources in the rain, prioritizing loot. He finds iron ore and leather, valuable materials for crafting. He asks Eren what his plans are for the downtime. He stops Eren from overtraining to preserve his condition for the next battle. He calls Jenna to help help him transport the materials. The master begins a high-rank summoning event. The gate opens, revealing the results of the paid summon. The different roles of the new units are displayed. A rare 3-star hero named Iolka and a veteran guard appear. Iolka trips on her dress, falling flat on her face upon arrival. The others look on in confusion at the clumsy entrance. Han notes she looks like an inexperienced aristocrat. He decides to draw lots to determine which party gets the new recruits. The two leaders prepare to pick their straws. The red stick indicates the winner of the draw. Han realizes Edith saw the result before picking. Han draws the blue stick. Losing the pick, Iolka reveals she is a fire magician, a rare class. Edith grabs the winning stick, securing the veteran guard. She introduces herself with a dramatic display of flames. Han and Edith argue over the distribution of the new units. Edith is annoyed by the result, realizing the mage might be trouble. Edith complains about the unfairness of the draw. Despite winning, Han declares the decision is final and accepts the mage. Han takes Iolka into his party. Despite her protests, Iolka tries to run away, refusing to be ordered around. He warns the others to work hard or end up merged like the previous group. He glares at the slacking recruits, reinforcing the threat. He tells her that incompetence leads directly to death in this place. A recruit begs to be saved from the next merge session. A dimensional rift opens for the new recruits to prove themselves. He orders Party 2 to enter the rift immediately. Edith agrees to the order, taking command of her squad. He asks Iolka what specific spells she can cast. She is hesitant to answer. Clearly untrained in military protocol, she is offended by his rude tone and lack of deference. She reveals she can use fire magic up to 3 stages of intensity. Han asks for more details on her utility. He asks about supporting magic like teleportation or shields. She scoffs, claiming support magic is for third-rate mages. Han looks disappointed by her answer, realizing her limitations. Han decides to test her capabilities on floor 4. The party prepares for battle, adjusting their formation. Han explains she is confident due to her high rank. Iolka claims she is special, so boasting of her lineage, a swarm of harpies and goblins attacks immediately. Han prepares to defend the rear. The party charges into the fray, engaging the enemy. Iolka is targeted by a harpy immediately due to her lack of awareness. A massive eye opens in the sky, observing the battle. Han saves her just in time, blocking the harpy's talons. He curses the situation, realizing she is a liability. The goblin horde approaches from the ground. He orders Jenna to shoot the front line to thin the numbers. The team engages the goblin horde in close quarters. Iolka yells at him, panicked by the chaos. He blocks an attack with his shield, protecting her. A goblin rider charges at them, wielding a heavy weapon. Han blocks the strike with his shield, buckling under the force. He struggles under the weight of the mounted attack. He spins and attacks. Breaking the rider's momentum, he shouts for Iolka to use her magic now. She is frozen in fear, unable to cast. She hesitates, her hands trembling. She begins casting a powerful spell, chanting frantically. Jenna warns him to run. Sensing the buildup of mana, he realizes the danger of being too close. Han realizes she has no shield spell to protect herself from the backlash. She is completely vulnerable while casting. He realizes she cannot teleport to safety either. She unleashes a massive fire spell, consuming the area. The flames engulf the goblin rider instantly. The fire sweeps through the enemy ranks, incinerating them. He cuts down another enemy that escaped the flames. He slams his shield into a goblin, knocking it back. He finishes off a fallen enemy with a stab. Another goblin attacks from the flank. The goblin persists despite the damage. Fueled by rage, a goblin survives the blast and charges through the smoke. Han slides under the attack, evading the blow. Han realizes she cannot teleport away and is a sitting duck. He saves her again from a lethal strike, dragging her back. She complains about his rough handling, oblivious to the danger. They run towards the forest to gain cover. He orders her to cast as soon as they enter the forest. She complains about his rough treatment again. He grabs her, running to a better position. He prepares to engage the enemy at the tree line. He tells her he will handle the enemies that get through. He draws his sword, ready to hold the line. He finishes off a goblin that got too close. The goblins launch a coordinated attack. He fires an arrow to disrupt their charge. Han blocks a heavy blow with his shield, his arm numb. He strikes back with force, clearing space. He cuts through the enemy lines to reach Aaron. Aaron struggles to hold the line against superior numbers. A goblin strikes his shield, denting it. He is overwhelmed by numbers. Backing up, Jenna fires arrows to cover him, dropping targets. A goblin gets too close to the formation. He takes a hit, gritting his teeth against the pain. He asks to join the fight, refusing to retreat. Han fights ferociously to protect the mage, becoming a wall. Iolka watches in fear, realizing the reality of combat. They fight back to back, desperate to hold out. He clears a path for them to advance. The fire spell is finally ready. He leaps away from the blast zone, shouting a warning. Iolka activates her transcendent stage, her power peaking. A massive tornado of fire erupts from her hands. The flames consume everything in a blinding vortex. The massive tornado tears through the forest. The fire spreads rapidly, turning the battlefield into an inferno. Han calls for help, needing cover to retreat. He struggles against the enemy amidst the heat. The sheer power obliterates the goblin riders and the trees. He strikes with a fierce blow, ending another threat. Han grins at the effectiveness of her magic, despite the risk. A goblin rider charges through the flames. Jenna leaps into action, intercepting it. A giant wolf leaps from the flames, jaws snapping. Han blocks the attack, throwing the beast back. Yoka creates a wall of fire to separate them. A wolf attacks, bypassing the wall. Jenna barely dodges an arrow aimed at her head. The flames intensify, making it hard to breathe. Han yells for them to run before they suffocate. Eren runs for his life, shield raised. Iolka unleashes another scorch spell to clear the path. The blast clears the area, leaving scorched earth. The explosion rocks the forest, shaking the ground. Debris flies everywhere, raining down on them. Han wonders if the battle is finally over. More enemies appear from the smoke. Iolka unleashes her power one last time. More enemies emerge, relentless in their assault. Jenna holds onto a tree, exhausted. A wall of fire blocks their path, saving them. Han blocks another attack, his shield finally cracking. The stage clear notification finally appears. The team levels up, their stats increasing. Han praises Iolka's power, acknowledging her value. She laughs triumphantly, regaining her arrogance. Han reviews the level ups from the battle. When analyzing the gains, he notes her weaknesses are critical liabilities. Her stats are shockingly low for a 3-star hero. He compares Iolka to a tank without treads, powerful but immobile. The new facility layout is displayed, showing expansion. Back at base, the master builds new facilities with the rewards. The alchemy center is complete, allowing potion crafting. The library is complete, unlocking magic research. The buildings combine into a larger structure. The hall of magic is completed, combining several facilities. She shows off her magical dress, preening. Han takes Iolka for physical training, ignoring her complaints. He explains that potion crafting is a mini-game. He reads a book he cannot understand, frustrated by the text. He starts crafting potions at the cauldron. He adds ingredients carefully, following the recipe. A rhythm game interface appears for the crafting process. He achieves a super success, hitting every note. He successfully creates high-quality, low-rank potions. He prepares a brazier full of burning coals. Jenna and Eren are shocked by the sight. He puts his hand into the fire, shocking the others. He explains the need for fire resistance to fight with Iolka. Eren counts the seconds he keeps it in, horrified. He explains they need fire resistance to survive friendly fire. Jenna is terrified by the idea of burning herself. Jenna hesitates but grabs his hand, trusting him. He holds her hand in the flames, sharing the pain. They hold hands in the fire to build tolerance together. He explains the strategy requires this sacrifice. He tells Eren he has one more task. Eren joins them, enduring the pain without complaint. Han uses a dagger on himself to train pain tolerance. Han insists. Pain tolerance is essential for healing potions too. He orders them to practice weapon switching next. Han announces that they will discard the rigid 3-range combat doctrine. He introduces a new triangle formation centered around protecting Iolka. Later he stands over a bubbling cauldron preparing a new batch of supplies. He dips his hand into the scalding liquid to demonstrate the necessity of pain tolerance. He watches Jenna endure the heat, realizing her growth rate is abnormally high. He explains the 3 stages of fire magic Iolka must master. A system message confirms he has acquired a new defensive skill. Edith's party returns from the 9th floor, looking battered and exhausted. Han observes their missing limbs and severe injuries with a grim expression. The reward screen shows Iolka leveling up from the previous clear. They reinforce their leather armor with steel plates to boost defense. A cell floats above the square, announcing the start of the 10th floor mission. The 2 parties gather at the gate, ready to deploy together. The massive gate opens, revealing the swirling blue rift. Han grimly notes that if they die, the master will simply replace them. The mission type is revealed as a defense mission to protect a city. They arrive in the city amidst chaos and screaming civilians. Han looks around, realizing the layout is disturbingly familiar. He identifies it as the same city from the 5th floor. But before its destruction, he points out that the walls haven't fallen yet. A map shows thousands of goblins gathering in the northern forest. The defending human soldiers number only a few hundred. Even combined with the heroes, the total force is less than 400. Han gathers the team to share intelligence and strategy. He clarifies that their goal is total annihilation, not just survival. He points to the statue of the twin goddesses, which must be protected. The map reveals the enemy possesses siege ladders. Roderick suggests guerrilla warfare, but Han rejects the idea. Han explains that a breach in the walls would mean instant failure. Jenna mentions she heard horses running across the river earlier. Han realizes the sound came from the other side of the eastern river. He proposes a risky plan to take a team out through the eastern gate. He deduces that in the original timeline the dam broke, preventing reinforcements. Their objective is to stop the dam from breaking. Edith agrees to hold the walls while Han's team executes the sortie. Eren grips the mechanism to open the side gate. A horde of goblins is waiting immediately outside the exit. Iolka begins casting her spell as the gate creaks open. A massive explosion of fire clears the immediate vicinity. The team charges through the lingering flames. They use the fire as a shield to advance. They maintain a tight formation protecting the mage in the center. Han counts down the distance as they cut through the enemy. Iolka casts Ignite, creating a path through the dense mob. Han smashes through the goblin lines with his shield. He orders Iolka to cast again immediately. They push relentlessly towards the river. Goblin riders appear on the horizon. Fire magic engulfs the mounted enemies. The goblins suddenly change their attack pattern. Han senses a powerful presence commanding them. The flames surrounding them begin to falter in the rain. The team rallies, preparing for a coordinated rush. Iolka unleashes another blast, clearing the riders. She collapses from mana exhaustion. Han catches her before she hits the mud. He notes the enemy coordination has broken, suggesting the leader is dead. They reach the edge of the river. Han realizes the commander would have countered them if it were alive. They take a brief moment to drink health potions. The northern gate is still under heavy siege. A massive ogre emerges from the darkness. It roars, challenging the intruders. Iolka tries to create a wall of fire to stop it. The ogre smashes through the magic effortlessly. Han steps forward to engage the beast alone. He realizes he must aim for vital points to do any damage. So another ogre appears, making the situation desperate. Han identifies a weak spot on the new enemy. The monster ignores Han and charges straight for Iolka. Jenna fires arrows, trying to draw its aggro. Han realizes its true target is the dam structure behind them. The ogre crashes into the wooden supports. Han watches in horror as the structure gives way. A torrent of water bursts through, threatening to sweep the entire party away. Iolka raises her hand, activating a magical artifact. A purple glow surrounds the falling debris. She uses telekinesis to hold the wreckage in place. The water is diverted, sweeping away the goblin horde instead. Han is stunned. She knew such useful magic. He yells at her for not mentioning it sooner. The surviving goblins regroup for another assault. The sound of thundering hooves drowns out the rain. The Iron Lion cavalry regiment appears on the far bank. They charge across the stabilized crossing. The human cavalry smashes into the goblin ranks. The tide of battle turns instantly. Han quickly purchases a riding skill from the system shop. He pulls Iolka onto a riderless horse. They join the cavalry charge. He orders a retreat as the main force handles the cleanup. He grabs Jenna, pulling her onto his mount. They head for the safety of the northern forest. Cheers erupt from the city walls as reinforcements arrive. The system announces the successful completion of the mission. Han smiles, realizing that this time nobody died. The battlefield falls silent as the last monster collapses. Yet the expected victory notification remains absent from the air. A piercing ring disrupts the quiet, grating against their senses. Fallen corpses begin to spasm, twisting with unnatural vitality. Dark energy coalesces into a silhouette that defies the game's art style. Han spots the anomaly instantly, his grip tightening on his weapon. He recognizes an entity that shouldn't exist in this timeline. The system window flickers, displaying a glitched level of 999. Reality distorts as the server connection struggles to maintain stability. Jenna screams a warning as the dead lurch back to their feet. Han realizes the objective has shifted from survival to endurance. A fresh wave of abominations claws its way out of the earth. Their screams echo, a distorted loop of audio files. Han traces the resurrection magic to its source. He knows he must crush the caster before the sheer numbers overwhelm them. Edith's voice cracks as she orders the gates secured. Han and Jenna wheel their mounts, charging back toward the city. They watch in horror as the heavy gates creak open on their own. The undead horde surges through the breach like a dam breaking. Han drives his horse into the city streets, prioritizing the statue. A towering figure dominates the chaotic skyline above the houses. The giant ogre swings its club, pulverizing the stone defenses. Han assesses the battlefield, calculating the collapsing odds. The gates slam shut behind them, sealing the civilians in with the slaughter. Frustration flares in his eyes as the trap snaps closed. He carves a path through the mob, momentum serving as his shield. These monsters are mindless, driven only by a coded instinct to ruin. His mind focuses on the goddess statue, the only HP bar that matters. A system alert chimes, noting his increased resistance to the heat. He plunges through a wall of fire, letting the flames lick his armor. There, hidden in the inferno, stands the caster. The dark priest weaves a spell of terror, targeting Han's mind. Shadowy tendrils erupt, attempting to snare his limbs. Han shatters the vortex with a single, decisive strike. His blade pierces the magical barrier protecting the summoner. He hammers the priest's guard, forcing an opening. Smoke fills his lungs, demanding a quick end to the duel. The spell destabilizes, detonating in a massive shockwave. Han steps through the debris, eyes locked on his target. He confronts the priest, closing the final distance. His sword finds its mark, silencing the chant forever. The summoner dissolves into particles of light. The glitch resolved, Han stands alone in the burning street, breathing hard. He checks his own health, wondering if he cut it too close. The kill notification confirms the threat is neutralized. He scoffs at the thought of dying in such a ridiculous scenario. The unnatural flames recede as the magic fueling them dissipates. A golden light bathes the city as the statue confirms their victory. The stage-clear message finally hangs in the air. absolute and real. Han secures the MVP title, proving his worth once again. The system officially designates their base as Tao Nere. Hours later, Han wakes in the safety of his quarters. Jenna and Aaron rush in, their faces tight with relief. Han sits up, asking for a situational report. Aaron describes the close call after Han had drawn the enemy away. The mood shifts as the team shares a hard-earned meal. Jenna's laughter breaks the tension, a rare sound in this hell. The Master selects a new construction project, the Promotion Center. A majestic building manifests in the town square. The interface lists the requirements for ascending a rank. A promotion stone forms, glowing with potential. Isel presents the item, her smile bright and professional. She announces that his days as a one-star unit are over. The heavy doors of the Promotion Center slide open. Han steps inside, ready to claim the power he deserves. He exits the chamber, his presence visibly heavier and sharper. He flexes his hand, testing the surge of new stats. Isel reappears, but her expression flickers unnaturally. Her form distorts, pixels tearing through her sprite. Han freezes as the reality of the room warps around him. An oppressive gravity slams down, pinning the air. The waiting room dissolves into static noise. A blade lunges from the void, fast and lethal. Han parries instinctively, finding himself before a dark throne. A woman in black observes him, her presence overwhelming. Han recognizes the face of an adult, Isel, twisted and regal. She smirks, entertained by his disorientation. She dismisses the fairy as a mere copy, a cheap interface. She claims the title of joint CEO, the architect of this world. She asks if he thinks this is a game to be trifled with. She admits his arrival here was a variable she hadn't calculated. Han demands answers, his sword still raised. She reveals this space is a memory of a fallen city. Her eyes burn with a red light. Piercing his defenses, she mocks the players who skip the story for the rewards. She gestures to the ruins, the ghost of the city he just saved. Visions of destroyed worlds cycle behind her like a slideshow. She presents the bad ending, the inevitable conclusion of failure. Han tightens his grip, refusing to accept her fatalism. She dares him to strike, pointing out the gap in their levels. He tells her to get lost with her cryptic speeches. He threatens to silence her permanently if she keeps talking. She laughs, finding his arrogance refreshing. She acknowledges that he operates on a different level than the others. She notes that he accomplished the impossible. A prompt flashes, urging trust between master and hero. The scenery shifts again, plunging them into a volcanic nightmare. The system tags this hellscape as Floor 80. Han stares into the fire, a memory he knows too well. He asks why she drags him back to his greatest defeat. She lounges in the flames, unaffected by the heat. She asks how it feels to relive the trauma in high definition. She explains the sadistic RNG that governs this specific floor. She confirms that no ranker has ever surpassed this wall. Han watches his former self struggle against the impossible odds. He witnesses his elite party crumble under the onslaught. She sips her drink, treating his tragedy as entertainment. She lists the heroes he lost, the strongest of Niflheim. The scene captures the sheer hopelessness of that day. She clarifies that the stage was designed to break them. She praises the tactical perfection of his attempt, yet perfection was not enough to beat the rigged system. The memory ends in a blinding explosion of failure. She asks if he finally grasps the scale of the challenge. She insists that a 7-star hero is the minimum requirement for victory. She questions the loyalty of heroes to masters who view them as disposable. She calls him the true king of Niflheim, the only one who mattered. She whispers that his old comrades are still searching for him. She asks if he thinks she has taken a special interest in him. He snaps at her to leave his people out of her mouth. She smiles, enjoying the spark of anger. She dismisses the worlds as meaningless variables. She challenges him to climb the tower and face her properly. She offers a bargain, clear the tower, and he returns home. She adds half her corporate shares as a sweetener. Han narrows his eyes, weighing the offer. She lunges, asks a test of his reaction speed. He evades the strike, rejecting her charity. She pulls back, deciding to overlook his insolence for now. A portal opens, offering him a way back to the waiting room. The true game, she declares, starts now. A cinematic plays, showing the world torn asunder by darkness. The narration sets the stakes, climb or perish. Han steps through the gate, leaving the glitch behind. His character card updates, the 2nd star shining brightly. His level cap breaks, unlocking new potential. He walks out of the center, his expression unreadable. Aaron approaches, curious about the upgrade process. Han brushes it off, keeping the encounter a secret. A global message apologizes for the earlier server instability. A massive compensation package arrives in the inventory. Isel bursts out, cheering over the influx of resources. She holds up a golden ticket, a guaranteed high-rank summon. Han looks at the item with cold indifference. He tosses it to Jenna, uninterested in the gamble. Isel panics, trying to offer him a rare sculpture instead. She presents the warhorse statue, hoping to appease him. Han discards that too, walking away in annoyance. Back in his room, room, he stares at the ceiling, processing the deal. He looks into the mirror, seeing the resolve in his own eyes. Jenna and Aaron gear up, ready for the next deployment. The mission board updates. Floor 11 is a conquest type. Skeletons claw their way out of the graveyard soil. Han barks orders, organizing the formation. He shatters a skeleton's ribcage with a shield bash. Iolka incinerates the remnants with a precise fire blast. The narrator notes that most masters stumble here, but Han's party dismantles the threat with mechanical precision. The team moves with improved efficiency, following Han's strict guidance, but Han notices the master's playstyle is starting to deviate from the optimal path. He worries that the master might be getting overconfident after the recent victory. Later in his room, Han confronts Estelle about the anomaly he witnessed. Estelle appears nervously, acting differently than usual. She admits she is terrified of the original entity Han saw. Han asks for the name of the woman who controls this world. Estelle hesitates, explaining that the name changes depending on the world. She reveals that for this world, the name is Niflheim. Han asks if she is a human from Earth, confirming his suspicions about the masters. He spends the night in deep thought, contemplating his position in this game. He decides he needs a guarantee that he can trust Estelle's information. The next day, the team prepares for another expedition. The combat power of the group has increased significantly. Han leads the charge, his sword cutting through the enemy ranks. Estelle informs him that the master has selected the 12th floor next. Han is shocked by the pace. Realizing they just cleared the 11th floor yesterday, he stops in his tracks, refusing to move forward. He questions the sanity of rushing into a higher difficulty without rest. Estelle warns him that the master has chosen the next stage. Han declares he will not fight, initiating a strike. Estelle panics, warning him of the consequences of disobedience. The other party members look at him in confusion. Han explains that proceeding now would be suicide for the team. The system warns that Party 1 is no longer controllable. Edith and the others decide to join the strike, trusting Han's judgment. A system tip suggests punishing the instigator to resolve the strike. Han smiles coldly, knowing the master has limited options. The heroes stand their ground in the plaza, refusing to deploy. A sudden burst of light indicates a new summoning session. Party 2 also joins the refusal, paralyzing the master's main forces. Han notes that the master is trying to bypass them by summoning replacements. The daily dungeon opens, offering an alternative path for resources. The master spends gems on a high-rank summoning to build a new team. A 3-star hero named Stein appears from the card. Next is Maisel, a 3-star mage with a haughty demeanor. The third is Tashir, a rogue with a rough appearance. The new recruits arrive in the plaza, looking down on the strikers. Stein introduces himself as an apprentice knight, ignoring the tension. Maisel mocks them, refusing to listen to a boy with a silver spoon. Tension flares immediately between the new arrivals. Tashir attacks Maisel. Enraged by her insults, Han steps in, blocking the attack effortlessly. Estelle tries to assert authority as the master's representative. She warns them not to mess with her, displaying her power. The master forces the new heroes into a party with low-level fodder. Han and Aaron watch as the new Party 3 prepares to deploy. The new team lacks cohesion, arguing amongst themselves. The system creates Party 3 with the new recruits and leftover 1-stars. Han watches them leave, knowing they are being sent to their deaths. The system shows Party 3 clearing the lower floors rapidly. Han predicts they will hit a wall soon due to lack of teamwork. A notification confirms Party 3 has been annihilated. The "You Lose" screen appears for the disposable party. Han realizes the master just wasted valuable resources for nothing. Estelle is distraught by the loss of the heroes. Han approaches her, asking about the aftermath. Estelle cries, fearing the master might quit the game entirely. Han asks Estelle for a favor to save the account. He requests access to the internet through her interface. Estelle connects him to the Pick Me Up community forum. Han starts typing a comprehensive guide on the keyboard. He explains he sent his personal gameplay records and analysis to the master. A gift box falls from the sky, landing in front of Han. It contains a warhorse sculpture, a specific item he likes. The affinity message confirms the master received the message. Han smiles, realizing the master is willing to learn. The atmosphere in the waiting room shifts as hope returns. Days later, the team stands ready at the gate, fully rested. Aaron asks if they are finally going back into action. The gate opens, revealing the destination is floor 8. Han explains they are revisiting a lower floor to test their training. The party charges into a horde of goblin riders. Jenna fires her arrows with newfound precision. Han cuts through the enemy lines with fluid movements. Iolka casts a spell, but something is different. She looks exhausted, but manages to control her mana better. The notification shows the research center is now active. Han had assigned Iolka to research duty to improve efficiency. Iolka complains about the workload of fighting and researching. Han suggests she learn more magic theory from the library. The system confirms Han can now choose a subclass. He declines the immediate offer, aiming for a specific hidden class. He shows Jenna the status window he can now visualize. He leads them deeper into the dungeon. Confident in their growth, they rest at a camp, discussing their progress. The next day, Jenna spreads the word about the status windows. The team gathers at the training grounds for practice. Jenna demonstrates her new archery skill. Han deflects her arrows, testing her limits. She unleashes a rapid volley, quickly, forcing him to move. Han is impressed by her ability to mix fake and real attacks. She dashes forward, switching to her dagger. Han blocks the strike, the impact echoing in the yard. She presses the attack, using her speed to flank him. Han counters with a swift kick, creating distance. He notes she is no longer just an archer, but a capable fighter. He switches his grip on the shield, getting serious. He launches a counterattack, his sword glowing. Jenna activates her weak point detection skill. Her eyes glow as she spots an opening in his defense. She predicts his movement and fires an arrow at his blind spot. Han barely deflects it, surprised by her accuracy. He praises her growth, acknowledging her talent. She smiles, wiping sweat from her brow. The system notifies Han that his leadership skill has leveled up. They continue sparring, pushing each other to the limit. Eren watches from the side, inspired by their dedication. Han explains that skill synergy is more important than raw numbers. Later, Han sits on a bench, looking at the piece he has built. Jenna walks up to him, looking different in her casual clothes. She tells him she had a strange dream about a burning forest. She laughs it off as just a nightmare. Han looks at her, sensing there is more to her story. The question of memory lingers in his mind as he weighs the cost of his promotion. He wonders if reclaiming his past is worth the price of his current power. In the forge, hammers ring out with a rhythmic, tireless purpose. The team trains in the yard, pushing their bodies to the breaking point. Eren watches Han's routine with a mix of awe and growing concern. Han pauses only to wipe the sweat from his brow before resetting. Their blades clash in a flurry of sparks, testing edge against edge. Eren struggles to keep pace, his movements lagging slightly behind. Han examines his sword arm, noting the muscle still feels imperfect. The synergy between his skills remains elusive, a fraction of a second off. Edith approaches him, her voice laced with curiosity about their past lives. She probes for weakness, but finds only a wall of silence. For he admits his current life is built on the deaths of others. She points out that he practically cleared the last obstacle alone. He dismisses her praise with cold, functional practicality. The blue light of the rift engulfs them, pulling them toward the next trial. They materialize on the 12th floor, weapons drawn for conquest. A vibrant city stretches out before them, bathed in deceptive sunlight. Jenna lowers her bow, confused by the absence of monsters. The streets are clean. The air smells of baking bread, not blood. A shout demands they freeze and identify themselves immediately. Armed soldiers block the street, leveling spears at the intruders. Jenna hesitates, her aim wavering at the sight of human faces. These are not beasts, but men with fear in their eyes. Eren stammers a defense, insisting they are not monsters. Han grips his weapon, knowing words are useless in this domain. The soldiers see only threats, their knuckles white on their pikes. Steel rings against steel as Han shatters the stalemate. He steps forward to shield his hesitant team from the first volley. A spear thrust aims for his throat, but he sidesteps with ease. Jenna watches in shock as he engages human opponents without mercy. She struggles to loose her arrow, her morality clashing with survival. The soldiers demand they surrender their weapons or die. Han mocks their request with a defiant guttural shout. A heavy foot stomp signals his charge, cracking the cobblestones. He crashes into the shield wall, sending men flying. He moves with lethal speed, a blur of steel among the ranks. His blade finds the gaps in their armor with surgical precision. A spear thrust is deflected, the wood splintering under his counter. He cuts through the formation, choosing efficiency over cruelty. Jenna draws her bowstring, realizing she must act or perish. Han reminds them it is kill or be killed, regardless of the enemy's face. Eren grits his teeth, suppressing his guilt to join the fray. Jenna's eyes harden as she accepts the grim reality of the tower. She looses an arrow, the shaft taking a soldier in the shoulder. Iolka prepares her magic from the rear, chanting a spell of flame. The enemy soldiers charge with fanatic zeal, ignoring their losses. Their formation breaks under the party's coordinated counterattack. Iolka unleashes a torrent of fire, scorching the street. Jenna fires rapidly into the chaos, covering the flanks. Han notes the soldiers are well equipped but lack discipline. He dispatches the captain, ending the organized resistance. A soldier screams as he falls, a sound too human for comfort. Edith watches the slaughter with a grim, unreadable expression. The silence returns, heavier than before. Han confirms that monsters and humans are no different here. They clear the subsequent floors with mechanical, emotionless precision. The experience gain is slow, but their levels inch upward. The equipment factory begins producing leather pouches to aid their logistics. Han hands a potion to the ferry manager to expedite the process. She complains about the workload, but greedily accepts the item. The team gathers to review their resources and prepare for the next jump. Han checks his status window, calculating the gap to the next rank. 2 months have passed since his arrival in this hell. He considers buying a recording feature to analyze his combat errors. The mission parameters for the 15th floor flash before his eyes. They must protect a VIP within a strict, unforgiving time limit. The time constraints are tighter than usual, forcing a rush. They arrive in a bustling medieval street, the noise overwhelming. The NPCs seem unaware of their presence, following scripted loops. A dense crowd fills the main thoroughfare, making visual confirmation hard. Han scans the area, filtering faces for the target. He spots a discrepancy in the crowd's behavior near the plaza. The flow of people bends around a specific group, creating a void. Some figures are clearly distinct from the background actors. Edith points out a familiar face hiding within the throng. Han asks about the city's landmarks to narrow the search. She identifies the Argent Hall as the most likely VIP location. They head toward the temple structure, moving against the crowd. Han leaps across the rooftops to gain a better vantage point. The streets below are packed with worshippers blocking the path. Guards stand watch at the temple entrance, hands on their hilts. Han drops down from the eaves to confront the gatekeepers. He delivers a swift blow to the neck, silencing the guard instantly. He drags the unconscious man into the shadows to avoid alarm. The rest of the team catches up, breathless from the climb. They realize the friendly NPCs cannot see them, but the threat is real. The armed guards react immediately to their foreign presence. An old priest stands on the balcony above, preaching to the masses. He announces the arrival of the heir to the sun, raising the stakes. Han orders the team to breach the temple before the ceremony ends. A knight shouts a challenge from the doorway, barring entry. Han kicks the door open with tremendous force, shattering the lock. The impact sends debris flying into the hall, interrupting the chant. He steps into the sanctuary with a smirk, weapon ready. The alarm is raised instantly, echoing through the nave. Jenna asks if any of them are religious, eyeing the statues. Han ignores the question and orders them to charge. He smashes a shield into an approaching guard, crumpling the metal. His sword cuts a path through the defenders, aiming for the altar. A heavy axe swings down at him from the side. He deflects the blow and counters with a stab to the ribs. The guard falls with a sickening crunch, dropping his weapon. More soldiers pour into the hall from the vestry, so a massive beam of light strikes the floor, scorching the stone. Han leaps away from the explosion, narrowly avoiding the holy fire. He lands gracefully on the marble floor, regaining his balance. Yolka responds with her own magic, meeting light with fire. Pews are smashed to splinters in the magical crossfire. A priest demands to know who dares defile the sanctuary. A heavily armored knight charges from the side aisle. Han directs his team to handle the flanks while he takes the center. He moves to intercept the leader, identifying the biggest threat. The knight swings a massive blade, cleaving the air. Han dodges the strike by a hair's breadth, feeling the wind of it. He deduces the priest is not the VIP, but a distractor. Another figure steps out from the shadows behind the altar. A knight in full plate armor blocks his path to the back room. He introduces himself as Kyle von Strauss, the temple's blade. He rushes Han with blinding speed, closing the distance instantly. Han is slammed against a pillar, the stone cracking behind him. The impact knocks the wind out of him, but he keeps his grip. The knight demands to know where the intruder hides his fear. Han strikes back while pinned, using his pommel to smash the visor. He breaks free and creates distance, circling his opponent. He swings his shield as a blunt weapon to stagger the knight. Sunlight streams through the stained glass, illuminating the duel. Two duelists face off in the holy light, waiting for an opening. Their blades lock in a shower of sparks, metal screaming. The knight declares death to the heretic, putting his weight behind the push. A girl with white hair watches from a high balcony, unseen by the crowd. The priest asks about the commotion, realizing his guards are failing. Han delivers a powerful overhead strike, shattering the knight's guard. The knight blocks but buckles under the sheer force of the blow. Blood sprays across the white flowers on the altar. Han presses his advantage relentlessly, offering no quarter. He overwhelms the knight with superior speed and aggression. He stomps on the fallen enemy's chest, ending the duel. He drives his sword down for the finish, silencing the threat. He snatches a badge from the corpse as a trophy or key. He turns his attention to the balcony, locking eyes with the girl. He deflects another guard's attack without looking. He cuts the man down without breaking stride, focused on the objective. He leaps towards the high platform, grasping the railing. He pulls an archer from the ledge, throwing him to the floor below. He stabs the man midair, a ruthless execution. He lands on the balcony, dripping with the blood of her guards. He swings his sword to clear the space around the girl. He looms over the terrified figure, casting a long shadow. He shatters a blade aimed at her back from a hidden guard. He blocks an assassin's strike meant for her, acting as her shield. The princess stares at him in shock, unable to comprehend his speed. The old priest holds a staff glowing with dark, unstable energy. He fires an orb of destruction directly at the balcony. Han realizes the attack is aimed at the girl, not him. A massive red sphere flies toward them, humming with power. Han dives to cover her, placing his body between her and the spell. He slashes through the magical energy, dispersing the impact. The priest prepares another spell, screaming in rage. An explosion rocks the balcony, throwing dust everywhere. The floor crumbles beneath them, threatening a long fall. Han stands amidst the debris unharmed, shaking off the dust. He tells the girl she doesn't need to know his name, only his purpose. She flinches as he reaches for her, fearing his bloody hand. A hidden assassin strikes from the shadows of the alcove. Arrows clatter on the stone floor, missing their marks. Han shields her with his body, taking the hits on his armor. He spots more enemies rappelling from the roof. Black-clad figures descend on ropes, weapons drawn. One swings a blade at his head, head, aiming for the kill. The princess cowers in fear, covering her head. Han blocks the strike with his shield, the impact jarring his arm. He notices the assassin's blade glistens with purple poison. Another attacker lunges for the girl while he is distracted. Han intercepts the blow, kicking the attacker back. Jenna watches from a distant tower, providing covering fire. Han protects the girl from a barrage of attacks, moving like a whirlwind. He stabs the attacker through the chest, ending the immediate threat. The assassin falls away into the void of the nave. Han spins his weapon to deflection mode, creating a steel wall. He blocks a thrown projectile aimed at Phreasis. He cuts the next attacker in half with a horizontal slash. He climbs up the balcony railing, looking for an exit. The princess asks who the dead woman in the assassin gear is. She realizes the assassins look exactly like her. Another assassin attacks before she can process the horror. Han demands to know if she wants to leave or die here. He points to the exit route, a precarious path across the gap. He gives her a stark ultimatum, counting down the seconds. She agrees with a tremble in her voice, choosing life. He sees the carnage below, knowing the way back is blocked. Edith prepares a zip line from the other side of the hall. Han aims a crossbow to secure the line. Soldiers rush up the stairs, their boots thundering. Han grabs the princess and jumps into the open air. They encounter another party of heroes trying to intercept. Han fires the grappling hook, swinging over their heads. They swing across the gap, suspended by a thin line. The wind rushes past them as arrows whiz by. Jenna arrives on the rope, covering their retreat. Aaron climbs down after them, struggling with his shield. Han confronts the princess on the landing, checking for injuries. He holds her tight as they swing to the next tower. Arrows fly past them, chipping the stone walls. They crash through a window, tumbling onto a dusty floor. He sets her down inside a tower, scanning for traps. Edith slides down the rope, landing with a roll. Aaron fights off pursuers on the ledge, holding the line. He takes a hit to the shoulder, a blade slipping past his guard. Han sees the wound is dark and frothing with poison. Aaron insists he is fine, hiding the tremor in his hand. His grip on the rope slips as numbness sets in. Jenna catches him just in time, hauling him up. Han yells for everyone to run left, towards the alley. Armored soldiers block the path, cutting off escape. Now an ambush springs from the side streets. A huge axe crashes down, aiming to split Han in two. Han blocks it and strikes back, aiming for the joints. He cuts the soldier's leg, forcing him to kneel. A giant blade descends from above, a trap mechanism triggered. The ceiling collapses from the impact, creating a barrier. They stop to catch their breath in a dark alley. The princess collapses from exhaustion, her dress torn. Han assesses the situation grimly, counting their resources. Iolka is too tired to cast more magic, her mana drained. Aaron is breathing heavily, sweat pouring down his face. His face is pale, the poison spreading rapidly. Han checks the wound, seeing the infection lines. Aaron tries to smile through the pain, failing miserably. Jenna asks if there is a way to heal him, panic in her voice. Han turns to the princess, hoping for a miracle. He asks if she has healing abilities or a royal artifact. She looks down in shame, shaking her head. The silence confirms Aaron's worsening condition. She apologizes for being useless, tears welling up. Han calculates the remaining time against Aaron's life expectancy. He realizes the poison is fast-acting and lethal. Aaron tells them to leave him, to save the mission. Han drinks a potion himself, ignoring the plea. Jenna looks distressed, refusing to abandon him. Han declares there is no way out but through. Aaron looks defeated, his strength fading. The princess watches them argue, witnessing their loyalty. Han's vision blurs for a moment from fatigue. He draws a rare red vial from his bag, a precious resource. He offers it to Aaron, the cost irrelevant in the moment. Aaron hesitates to take it, knowing its value. It is a high-grade potion worth a fortune. Aaron worries it is a waste on a dying man. Han tells him it might not work, but he has to drink it. They regroup in the narrow street as Aaron swallows the liquid. Han hands the bag to Jenna, lightening his load. He takes a sip of water to clear his throat. Aaron refuses the charity of being carried. Han explains the party split strategy to confuse the pursuers. Party 1 will take the VIP and go dark. Party 2 will divert attention with noise and flash. Edith points out the difficulty of the decoy plan. Han insists they change methods to survive. The mission goal shifts from escort to escape. Han looks determined, his eyes cold and focused. The city burns around them, smoke filling the sky. He outlines a plan using the princess's dress as a decoy. They can avoid fighting if they are smart and fast. He explains fire magic draws too much attention, ruling it out. Jenna will guard Aaron and keep him moving. Han gives final orders, brooking no argument. Aaron apologizes for being a burden once again. Han tells him not to flatter himself. He is just an asset. They move out in separate directions, splitting the enemy. The team splits up at an intersection, vanishing into the smoke. Han leads the princess into the shadows of the slums. They enter a deserted building, the door hanging off its hinges. They climb the stairs silently, avoiding the squeaky boards. A man sits slumped in a corner, eyeing them suspiciously. A woman smokes a pipe nearby, indifferent to the intrusion. The princess looks around in fear, clutching Han's sleeve. A thug approaches her with ill intent, grinning. Han kicks him across the room without dropping his guard. He explains this Slum is the perfect hiding spot because it is ignored. He tells the princess to stay close and stay silent. She notices something dangerous in his eyes. The sun sets over the burning city, marking the end of the day. Han surveys the safe house, checking the back exit for emergencies. The princess sits on the dusty floor, her royal demeanor fading. She reveals her name is Phriasis, second in line to a throne that may not last. She admits she is merely a puppet, devoid of real power. Despair colors her voice as she recounts her helplessness. Han listens impassively as she describes the phenomena plaguing her world. She speaks of a recurring dream where the horizon is consumed by fire. The city's inner visions turn to ash, leaving only silence. She describes the heat of the apocalypse she feels in her sleep. She asks if he has come from another world to stop this future. She offers him gold, desperate to hire him as a savior. Han refuses the money, citing reasons she cannot understand. He explains that saving her world requires rewriting its history, even if it means tearing apart the fabric of space and time. Han's reaction is flat, treating the end of the world as a logistical problem. She looks at him with a mix of fear and fragile hope. He tells her the world is a hellish place regardless of their actions. She asks if they truly came from another dimension. Han confirms it with a cold indifference that shocks her. She decides to trust him, having no other option but death. She states her resolve to stop her nightmare from becoming reality. Suhan tosses a bundle of rough clothes at her feet. He orders her to change out of her royal gown immediately. She hesitates but accepts the disguise, shedding her status. Edith warns them to throw the expensive dress in the trash to hide their trail. Han steps outside to give her privacy, watching the street. He hears a noise and turns sharply, hand on his hilt. The princess emerges wearing the peasant garb, looking small. He notes that she still looks too noble for the slums. Edith reports that she will use a decoy to draw the guards away. Han gives the signal to move out as night falls. The princess asks if this is their last moment together. Han gives a non-committal answer and leads the way into the dark. They move with stealth, sticking to the blind spots of the patrols. The shadows become their shield as they navigate the alleyways. Han spots an enemy soldier ahead, blocking the route. The city is on high alert, torches lighting the streets like day. A captain shouts orders to his men to find the target at all costs. Han strikes from the darkness, silencing a guard before he can scream. He moves with calculated precision, conserving every ounce of energy. A heavy thud marks the fall of another obstacle. He clears the path to the gate, leaving a trail of unconscious bodies. An elite knight blocks their escape route, armor gleaming. Han engages without hesitation, sparks flying as steel meets steel. Their swords lock in a test of strength, muscles straining. The duel is fast and brutal, a clash of skill versus desperation. The knight creates an opening, baiting an attack to the side. Han sees the trap and alters his swing mid-air. He mocks the enemy's predictable tactics with a smirk. He overwhelms the knight with a flurry of strikes, breaking the guard. The armor buckles under the relentless assault. The princess watches in horror as blood sprays the wall near her face. Han urges her to keep running, ignoring the carnage. He cuts down the remaining soldiers blocking the alley. They burst out into the open street, the gate in sight. The princess stumbles, exhausted and terrified by the violence. Han screams at her not to stop, grabbing her arm. A crossbow bolt whizzes past her ear, missing by inches. An assassin lunges from the roof, aiming for her neck. Han intercepts the dagger with his own blade, deflecting the kill. He kicks the attacker away, clearing space for their escape. He grabs the princess and pulls her along, forcing her pace. A massive knight drops from the sky, crushing the pavement where they stood. Han barely evades the impact, rolling to safety. He realizes they are running out of time and options. He launches a desperate counterattack, pouring his remaining mana into the strike. The enemy falls, defeated by sheer force of will. Han stands victorious over the fallen elite, chest heaving. He checks his breath, the poison in his system taking its toll. The first rays of sunrise crest the horizon, blinding them. He leans against a wall, his vision swimming with fatigue. Edith arrives to support him, offering a shoulder. The princess is safe, panting heavily nearby, alive against the odds. They walk into the sunrise, leaving the burning city behind. The mission completion screen appears, a welcome sight. They are teleported back to the waiting room. Safety, at last. Jenna complains about the dress she had to wear as a decoy. The team collapses on the floor, alive but drained of all strength. Edith suggests they get some rest before the adrenaline fades. Aaron looks dejected about his performance, nursing his wound. Han tells him not to let it happen again, his voice stern. Later, Han watches Aaron train alone in the yard, struggling. He notes that Aaron's stats are stagnating despite the effort. He worries that the spearman lacks the talent to keep up with the climb. The gap between Aaron and the others is widening every day. Han fears this weakness will eventually be fatal for the team. Days pass peacefully as the team recovers from the ordeal. Han observes the bustling town square, planning the next move. The quiet is unsettled by the arrival of new faces. The low-rank heroes have become complacent, enjoying the downtime. New recruits arrive from a summoning session, stepping into the light. Two distinct figures stand out from the crowd of novices. Belkist, a wild-looking man with a scar, grins at the challenge. Nerissa, a sharp-eyed woman in dark clothes, assesses the threats. They are both two-star heroes with high potential ratings. ratings. Belkist expresses excitement about the dangerous missions ahead. He asks about the merging system, curious about the rumors. He learns the master has stopped using it lately, sparing the weak. The facility expansion begins, altering the base layout overnight. Construction magic raises new walls and structures. The low-rank heroes marvel at the changes, oblivious to the cost. A map shows the new dual-zone structure of the base. The notification confirms the waiting room customization is complete. A large two-story dormitory appears, looming over the square. The square upgrades to level 3, becoming grander and paved. The new building gleams in the sunlight, a promise of comfort. The lounge and bathhouse are completed, steam rising from the vents. Jenna cheers at the prospect of a hot bath after weeks of grime. The interior is luxurious compared to their old, cramped quarters. The stark contrast between the zones creates an immediate divide, but the ferry manager announces a new rule that kills the mood. Only the combat team is assigned to the second floor. The detailed menu reveals the perks of the upper level are exclusive. The first floor remains basic and cramped, a slum within the base. The non-combatants realize they are being segregated by utility. Anger ripples through the crowd of inactive heroes. Edith fans herself, unbothered by their complaints, enjoying her status. Han continues his routine, indifferent to the unrest brewing below. The freeloaders shout protests at the ferry, demanding equality. She tells them to figure it out themselves and flies off. She adds that meat is now forbidden for the first-floor residents. The mob explodes in outrage at the potato-only diet. Tension rises as hunger meets resentment. A burly man tries to grab Han to complain about the unfairness. Belkis steps in and breaks the man's arm with a casual twist. He laughs, calling them pigs for eating without working. He mocks their lack of ambition and their softness. He draws his sword, challenging anyone to disagree with violence. He tosses the man aside like trash, asserting dominance. The crowd backs away in fear of the violent newcomer. Han asks Belkist who he thinks he is to interfere. Belkist grins, saying he just wanted to teach the cattle a lesson. Jenna warns the slackers that the master is watching everything. The resentment boils over into open rebellion, despite the warning. The rioters block the mission board, refusing to let anyone pass. The interface shows Party 4 refusing to deploy on strike. A riot breaks out in the square, shouts echoing off the new walls. Belkist and Nerissa watch with amusement, enjoying the show. Han confronts the leader of the strike, his patience gone. The system warns that the party is uncontrollable and mutinous. Han draws his sword, accepting the need for a purge. Belkis spins his weapon, eager for sanctioned violence. Han warns the striker that each word will cost an arm. The man realizes too late that Han is not bluffing. Han explains they have the right to disobey orders, but they must also face the consequences of their obsolescence. The doors to the merging center slowly open, revealing a blinding light. Panic seizes the crowd as they realize their destination is not prison. Jenna reminds them she warned them about this outcome. Protest turns to screaming as the light of the merge claims them. The heavy doors slam shut, sealing their fate forever. Belkist comments that it was a good show, wiping his blade. The silence that follows is heavy with the weight of the execution. A system message confirms the merge is complete, resources recycled. Belkist levels up from the sacrifice of the others, growing stronger. The surviving freeloaders tremble, their rebellion crushed by fear. The crowd erupts in confusion, shouting that they were tricked into this nightmare. Asel smiles coldly, showing total indifference to their pleas for mercy. Screams echo through the hall as the men realize their fate is sealed. Han watches the chaotic scene with a dark, unreadable expression. A woman with black hair turns her back, uninterested in the slaughter. One man frantically retracts his strike, shouting that he changed his mind. Jenna looks away in disgust, unable to watch the brutal conclusion. A man begs for his life, screaming to know why the process isn't stopping. Han leans against a wall, closing his eyes to shut out the noise. Asel explains that fear is a necessary tool for maintaining control. A survivor on the ground demands Han say something to stop the madness. Han asks him calmly what exactly he expects to be said. He challenges the man to cut off his own arm if he truly wants to live. The man stares in horror at the brutal ultimatum placed before him. He trembles, unable to lift his blade against his own flesh. Han watches the hesitation, his gaze void of sympathy. He asks if the man would prefer for them all to die instead. He explains that those who made their beds must now lie in them. The reality of their situation crashes down on the survivors. Han walks away from the bloody aftermath, leaving the survivor alone with his choice. The screams fade behind him, replaced by a heavy silence. He remarks to himself that the man was barely worth anything anyway. The group gathers in the square, their numbers now reduced to 25. Belkist approaches, asking who the loud man was earlier. He mocks the survivors, calling them whiners who should have been ripped apart. He leaves with a cruel grin, promising to see them on the second floor. Asel announces a sudden change in the summoning protocol. Free summons will go to the first floor, while paid ones go to the second. The new system creates a stark divide in the quality of heroes. A hierarchy is established, dividing the heroes by their inherent worth. The survivors enjoy a meal in the upgraded cafeteria, though the mood is somber. Jenna notes grimly that breakfast tastes better with fewer mouths mouths to feed. Han agrees, focusing only on the reduction in logistical strain. A recruit greets Han respectfully in the training yard, trying to hide his fatigue. Han asks if he slept at all, noting the dark circles under his eyes. He enters a private training room to practice his skills away from prying eyes. He activates a skill, testing his limits in the solitude of the chamber. Belkist knocks down a recruit during sparring, asserting his dominance early. He stands over his opponent, sneering at their weakness. Another recruit is beaten, his face swollen from the heavy impact. Belkist walks through the yard, radiating arrogance and danger. He claims he has only faced pigs who are scared of swords. Han enters the ring, his aura flaring with blue energy. Belkist attacks with a wild, red-eyed frenzy, eager for a real challenge. Their weapons clash, sending sparks flying through the air. The master summons Party 1 to the square for a new directive. Estelle asks if they are ready for the adventure dungeon. She opens a rift, directing them to the entrance on the first floor. The team descends a long staircase into a lush forested area. Estelle hands Han a pouch of gold coins as a gift from the master. Jenna marvels at the currency, wondering about its value in this world. The system announces the start of the adventure in the Heim Peninsula. They arrive at a walled city, the atmosphere tense but strangely quiet. Jenna recognizes the place as the city they previously saved from destruction. However, the city is intact, as if the massacre never happened. Han notices the NPCs can actually see them this time. A guard stops them at the gate, asking for travel documents. Han flicks a gold coin to the guard, letting greed do the talking. The guard's attitude changes instantly, allowing them entry without question. Han notes that money is king in this world, just like any other. Jenna asks if they should look around for intel or just wander. Han tells them to relax and do whatever they want for now. Jenna drags Aaron and Han along to go sightseeing in the bustling streets. Han spots a wanted poster pinned to a bulletin board. It features a sketch of the princess they saved on the 15th floor. The bounty is set at 100,000 gold coins for crimes of heresy. Han realizes she has been stripped of her royal status and branded a criminal. A young boy in a cap approaches, identifying Han as a bounty hunter. He claims the girl is a witch who sacrificed a living infant. Han asks for more details, his expression darkening at the accusation. The boy demands payment before spilling any further information. Han refuses to be ripped off and turns to walk away. The boy chases after him, offering a freebie to keep his interest. He explains that the poster is a year old, revealing a time discrepancy. Han realizes less than a week has passed for them since the event. The boy mentions the princess is still wandering the continent as a fugitive. Han asks about monster invasions in the city's history. The boy confirms a goblin attack 2 years ago which was blamed on the witch. He mentions strange ruins appearing all over the continent recently. He calls these mysterious places dungeons. He explains an invisible wall blocks ordinary people from entering them. He mentions a rumor about a freaky rock at the end of the dungeon. Han deduces it must be a transcendent stone. The boy asks how he knew, surprised by Han's sharp insight. They arrive at a large cathedral-like structure in the city center. Guards block the entrance to the dungeon stairs, demanding permits. The boy explains that the church controls access and takes a hefty commission. Han dismisses the boy, having heard enough to form a plan. The boy reveals his name is Yoshu before scampering off. Han watches the mercenaries gathering near the gate, analyzing their strength. He decides he can get inside, despite the guards and the barrier. He approaches the gate, which glows with a magical deterrent. The boy returns, refusing to give up on his investment in Han. Han tells him to get lost, annoyed by the kid's persistence. Estelle appears, but her appearance glitches for a moment. A distorted image of a woman flashes in Han's mind, hinting at a hidden truth. The boy asks if Han is a dungeon hunter, his eyes wide with curiosity. Han tells Jenna the bow she wants to buy is trash and not worth the gold. He advises her to spend the money on something with actual utility. He points out the attribute stones in a display case as a better investment. He explains the strategic importance of the replay stone. The item allows them to rewatch boss battles to study attack patterns. Jenna tries to present a secret investment plan she cooked up. Han cuts her off, uninterested in financial schemes that don't involve survival. Later, the team returns to the waiting room to regroup. Han instructs the new recruits to meet at the training center the next day. He warns Aaron about overtraining and risking injury before the big fight. The cards for Belkist and Nerissa are displayed, showing their stats. The new recruits arrive, radiating confidence and danger. Nerissa comments on the luxury of the second floor compared to the first. Estelle welcomes them to their new home with a practiced smile. The group discusses which party they will join, tension rising immediately. Belkist immediately demands to join Party 1, refusing to settle for less. Han tells them they don't get to decide. Their worth will determine their place. Nerissa says she thought the rumors of Han's strength were exaggerated, but seeing him in person changed her mind instantly. She saw the replay of his battles using the stone and knows he is the real deal. Jenna says they have to join the strongest group if they want to survive. Belkist mocks Aaron, questioning his seniority and skill. Han agrees that merit should decide the placement, not tenure. Nerissa suggests a method other than drawing straws to settle it. Han challenges them to fight for their spot in the party. He points to the arena, setting the terms of the trial. Belkist steps forward, eager for violence and a chance to prove himself. Nerissa faces Belkist inside the cage, ready to fight. Han states they will be assigned based on skill and the party's needs. Belkist challenges Nerissa to a duel, grinning like a predator. Han signals the start of the match. Belkist launches himself at Nerissa with explosive speed. Nerissa dodges, her movements fluid and precise against his raw power. He slashes wildly, his eyes glowing red with his berserker skill. Nerissa parries and counters, aiming for his openings with lethal intent. Sparks fly as their weapons collide repeatedly in the center of the ring. Han observes their combat instincts are high level, a cut above the rest. But Nerissa uses the cage wall to launch a surprise attack from above. Han notes their tactical use of the environment to gain an advantage. Nerissa lands a hit, cutting Belkist's cheek and drawing first blood. Belkist delivers a heavy blow, smashing Nerissa into the floor with a crunch. He punches her in the gut while she is down, winding her completely. He slams her into the fence, showing no mercy to a fallen opponent. Nerissa coughs blood, defeated by his overwhelming brute force. Han confirms the match is over before Belkist kills her. Belkist declares himself the winner, eyeing the spot in Party 1. Nerissa wipes blood from her mouth, smirking despite her loss. Belkist demands to know why she is smiling after being beaten. Han praises Nerissa's talent and strategy during the fight. He explains that Belkist relied on raw power to bulldoze through, lacking finesse. Belkist scoffs, claiming he would have won faster without her tricks. Han tells him Party 1 doesn't need a mindless brawler. He challenges Belkist to last 1 minute against him if he wants the spot. Han looks at Eren and asks about another potential member. He explains that swordsmen and spearmen have different roles to play. He asks Eren if a spearman is truly necessary if he can't do his job effectively. Jenna defends Eren, shouting that he is doing fine and working hard. Han shuts her down, saying meaningless compliments make the weakness worse. Belkist steps into the ring, glowing with a menacing green aura. He points his sword at Eren, marking his next target. Belkist tells Eren he will join Party 2 if he loses this fight. Belkist accepts the challenge with a twisted grin, sensing an easy win. Han states the winner will join Party 1, raising the stakes. Eren faces Belkist, his spear ready but his hands trembling slightly. He spins his spear, creating a defensive zone to keep the swordsman at bay. Belkist activates his red-eyed berserker state, ignoring the defense. Metal clashes as Belkist breaks through the defense with sheer force. Han thinks Eren can win if he sticks to the practice and keeps his distance. Eren strikes, but Belkist deflects the blow with his armored arm guard. Han notes Eren has the advantage of experience against monsters. Belkist has never fought monsters, only humans, giving Eren an edge. Belkist takes a hit to the shoulder but keeps coming, ignoring the pain. He uses his sword to trap Eren's spear, locking the weapon. So he closes the distance, nullifying the spear's reach advantage. Belkist headbutts Eren, stunning him and breaking his stance. He mocks Eren, telling him he's washing dishes for Party 2 now. Eren focuses, his eyes glowing blue as he activates a skill. He blocks a lethal strike with the shaft of his spear just in time. He pushes Belkist back, creating the space he needs. Han reflects that Belkist's talent warped his growth, making him arrogant. Han notes that Eren's skills are standard and predictable, easy to read. Belkist figures out the pattern quickly and adjusts his attack. Belkist gets in close, face to face with Eren, invading his guard. He shatters Eren's defense with a powerful sweeping swing. Eren is thrown back, skidding across the floor from the impact. Belkist stands over the fallen spearman, victory in his grasp. He asks if Eren is so strong he has to go easy on him. He tells Eren not to resent him if he dies right here. Belkist prepares a finishing blow to end the match permanently. Eren grips his spear, desperation written all over his face. He lunges, aiming for a mutual strike that would kill them both. Belkist dodges the desperate attack with unnatural reflex. He grabs the spear shaft mid-thrust, stopping the weapon cold. He smashes his elbow into the weapon, breaking Eren's stance completely. Eren falls, defeated and humiliated in front of everyone. Belkist spins his weapon, victorious and preening for the audience. He delivers a final slash, ending the duel with flair. Belkist says he feels lightheaded from blood loss but still grins. He collapses next to the beaten Eren, exhausted. A spectator shouts that Eren had the upper hand for a moment. He accuses Belkist of cheating or using dirty tricks. Jenna feels sorry for Eren, knowing how hard he worked. Han realizes it was decided by a single strike and a moment of hesitation. Han rushes into the ring to intervene before things escalate. He acknowledges Belkist rid himself of variables to win decisively. He didn't hesitate to take Eren down, even if it meant killing him. Han observes Belkist's observational skills are sharper than expected. He laments that it would have been better if Eren hadn't held back his killing intent. Eren lies on the floor, regretting his hesitation and his weakness. Nerissa watches, unimpressed with the result, but respecting the strength. Han tells Eren he will keep his word regarding the party placement. The gate opens, and Han announces Belkist joins Party 1. Eren kneels in defeat, accepting his removal from the elite team. The Party 1 roster updates Han, Jenna, Iolka, and now Belkist. A system window asks to confirm Aaron's removal from the party. Han tells Aaron he brought this on himself by not being ruthless enough. A recruit tries to defend Aaron's mercy as a virtue. Han snaps that they aren't here to make friends, but to survive. He dismisses the group for the night, ending the spectacle. Aaron is left alone in the cage, devastated and broken. Belkist and Nerissa introduce themselves officially to the team. Han confronts them outside, setting the tone for their leadership. He tells them joining Party 1 exposes them to far more danger. Aaron remains in the cage, sulking in the shadows of his failure. Han walks back to him, offering a hard truth. He asks why Aaron didn't aim for the weak points when he had the chance. Aaron admits he couldn't bring himself to kill a comrade. Aaron says he knows he has no talent compared to the others. He confesses he felt he didn't have the right to kill a gifted man like Belkist. Aaron cries, saying he just wants to get stronger and not feel worthless. Han tells him there is a way, but it won't be easy. He tells Aaron to accept his proposal for a new role. He offers to make him a drill sergeant, but Aaron initially refuses. Han tells Aaron that at his level he was just as worthless once. Han asks if he really wants to get stronger, piercing through his pity. Aaron kneels on the floor, defeated and desperate for a path forward. He cries out that he doesn't want to feel this miserable ever again. Tears stream down his face as he begs for a way to improve. Han looks down at him with a serious, unyielding expression. He mentions a place called Niflheim, where similar men existed and perished. Han tells him that perseverance alone means nothing here without results. He gives Aaron a specific instruction to follow if he wants to survive. Han turns to Jenna, telling her she must fill the gap Aaron left in the formation. He addresses the two new recruits, warning them not to act alone. Belkist agrees to follow the lead with a smirk, though his eyes remain wild. The system analyzes Nerissa's versatile skill set for the party. Han assigns her to the mid-range position to utilize her flexibility. She accepts the role of intelligence gathering and ambush. Han knows she will act independently, regardless of his orders. He tells Jenna to keep running with added weights to build stamina. Jenna and Nerissa jog together in the yard, building a tentative rapport. Jenna complains about the grueling training schedule Han has set. In the lower yard, the drill sergeant trains the new fodder. Han watches from above, hoping for a diamond in the rough to appear. Later, Han gathers the recruits for a sparring session. He declares there will be no rules, signaling a brutal fight. Belkist asks if he wants them to go all out, eager to hurt someone. Han activates his berserker mode, emitting a terrifying red aura. Belkist charges with manic excitement, meeting force with force. The three of them clash in a violent whirlwind of steel and skill. Belkist attacks with wild abandon, disregarding his own defense. Han deflects their combined assault with his shield, immovable. He tells them they stand no chance if they don't work together. Han pushes them back effortlessly, showing the gap in their power. He calls Jenna to join the fray, adding range to the chaos. Belkist warns Jenna to stay out of his way or get hurt. Jenna draws her bow, joining the chaotic melee with precision. She fires an arrow into the mix, forcing them to react. Belkist deflects it, annoyed by the interference in his duel. Jenna fires again, forcing them to dodge and reposition. Nerissa deflects the arrows with her blade, while engaging Han. Han lectures them on the power of the enemies they will face on higher floors. He tells them they don't even grasp the fundamentals of team combat. He challenges them to attack him as a coordinated team. Arrows fly past Nerissa and Belkist, creating openings. They launch a coordinated attack on Han, finally syncing up. Han blocks the strike with his arm guard, impressed by the adjustment. Jenna falls from a high vantage point, raining shots from above. She fires mid-air, covering the melee fighter's retreat. Belkist takes a hit but keeps moving, fueled by adrenaline. He complains about the intensity of the training, wiping sweat from his brow. Nerissa is exhausted but refuses to quit, her pride keeping her standing. Han notes Jenna is used to the wild, giving her better stamina. He compares Belkist to a clever beast that learns quickly. The sparring continues with brutal intensity until sundown. They are all covered in wounds and arrows, battered but stronger. Han finally calls an end to the session, satisfied with the progress. The sun sets on the battered team as they catch their breath. Jenna complains she didn't get any individual training attention. Han warns the new recruits about compliance and the cost of failure. Belkist mutters about killing someone later to vent his frustration. The next morning brings a new routine and new pain. Han meets the women in the courtyard for special training. He explains Belkist is busy elsewhere, likely sulking or recovering. He announces the training will be extra intense today to make up for lost time. Jenna and Nerissa spar with weapons, testing their compatibility. Nerissa proves to be a formidable swordswoman, pushing Jenna back. Jenna dodges a lethal strike, using her agility to survive. Nerissa presses the attack relentlessly, giving no quarter. Belkist joins in later, attacking wildly and disrupting the flow. Jenna kicks him away, creating distance for a shot. Belkist is surprised by her ferocity and close-quarters skill. He declares he is going to end her for the humiliation. Jenna leaps over his strike, moving like the wind. She lands a hit on his shoulder, proving she isn't prey. She stands victorious over him with a knife to his throat. Belkist grins, accepting his loss, respecting the strength. Han observes them, learning to cooperate through combat. that. He asks if they want to try beating him now that they've bonded. He creates a new partner rotation system to maximize flexibility. They practice working in pairs to cover each other's weaknesses. Han confronts Belkist about his solitary style and its limits. He explains that even the strong cannot survive alone in the tower. Nerissa analyzes the efficiency of Han's tactics and leadership. Later, she has tea with Han in the lounge. I am discussing strategy. Han asks about her background as a spy and assassin. Han notices a group of new heroes gathering in the plaza. He identifies them as the third generation of summons. A man named Melkert approaches Han, asking for a cowardly favor. He claims a grave illness prevents him from descending to the lower floor. Han kicks him down the stairs without hesitation, ending the charade. He reminds everyone the waiting room cures all diseases instantly. The signs of unrest from the split are showing among the new recruits. The system announces the start of Floor 16, a new challenge. They arrive in a massive, opulent mansion, silent and eerie. Han and Nerissa scout the hallway, sensing danger. Han tries a door but finds it impassable and locked by magic. Iolka notes the strange scale of the architecture, built for giants. Belkist complains about the boredom of exploration without enemies. Han tells him to stay alert, as silence often precedes death. He notices something on the floor, a dark stain. A maid is collapsed, vomiting blood and twitching in agony. Belkist suggests eliminating the suspicious element immediately. Jenna feels pity for the suffering woman, hesitating. 7 armored knights suddenly block their path, weapons drawn. Han orders an ambush strategy, taking initiative. He waits by the door, listening for their approach. He counts down the seconds, timing the breach perfectly. He smashes the door open into the enemy formation. The knights react to the intrusion, but too late. Belkist slices through them with his sword, laughing. Blood sprays across the elegant hall as bodies fall. Han stabs a knight through the chest, efficient and cold. But Jenna covers them with rapid fire, pinning the backline. A knight tries to block but is crushed by the heavy arrows. Han moves with lethal precision, dismantling their defense. The enemy forces are overwhelmed by the coordinated assault. Iolka unleashes a fire spell, turning the hall into an inferno. The knights scream as they burn in their armor. Belkist dashes through the flames, hunting survivors. He cuts down the burning soldiers, enjoying the chaos. Han finishes the last one, ending the skirmish. The team stands amidst the carnage, victorious but wary. Nerissa asks how he knew about the second wave of enemies. Han points to the magical barrier that didn't fall despite the kills. He asks Belkist if he enjoys destruction, noting his smile. The stage clear notification finally appears, lifting the barrier. Jenna wonders if the next floor will be similar in difficulty. Nerissa has something to report back at base regarding the mansion. She meets Han for tea to discuss the intel she gathered. She reveals she knows the mansion they just cleared from her past. She worked there before being summoned, serving a noble family. She identifies it as the Golden Manor of the Halgyon family. She explains the power structure of the empire she came from. 4 great families rival the imperial power, Halgyon being one. Han recalls this from the replay stone, confirming her intel. Nerissa reveals the Halgyon bloodline is mixed with dragon blood. A diagram shows the tower floors and the difficulty curve. The boss on the 20th floor is a unique monster, a true terror. Han knows that less than half of players reach floor 20 alive. However, Nerissa suspects a connection to the church and the princess. The dragon blood makes the family powerful and dangerous enemies. Han tells Nerissa to help when asked, securing her loyalty. The master constructs a new building called the Archive. Han looks at the building with a grim expression, knowing its purpose. Jenna and Iolka wonder what it is, sensing the ominous aura. Han explains it is a place to store memories of the fallen. He calls it their tomb, a place for those who won't make it. Jenna looks terrified by the name and the implication. Han notes the master is sending Party 2 past floor 16 as well. He tells Jenna she needs a new skill to keep up with the difficulty. He orders Iolka to increase her firepower for the upcoming boss. Belkist challenges Han to another duel, still seeking victory. Jenna complains about the ominous archive looming over them. Han tells them it's just like the 15th floor, adapt or die. Belkist attacks Han in the ring, faster and stronger than before. Belkist's skill awakens during the fight, pushing him to a new level. Han's skill also levels up, meeting the challenge head-on. Jenna acquires strong bow, increasing her damage output. Han checks his arm after the spar, feeling the raw power increase. A stone pillar is smashed from the impact of their training. The team is growing stronger every day, preparing for the inevitable. Han reviews his stats, seeing the progress he has made. He sees the training grounds are full of hopeful recruits. Dika reports success with the new recruits' basic training. The blacksmiths are producing better gear for the raid. They are likely to become an official raid party soon. Han studies the guidebook late into the night, strategizing. He recalls wiping out 3 times on floor 20 in his past life. He tells the team to write their wills, shocking them with his seriousness. Jenna is shocked that Iolka is actually doing it, writing a letter. Han leads the way to the mission gate, his face set in stone. The mission requires 3 parties, a massive undertaking. Jenna is confused about about the boss stage description in the log. Han confirms they need all forces to stand a chance. A single scout is sent in first to assess the danger. The massive gate looms before them, radiating malice. Han smiles confidently despite the danger, reassuring his team. A flash of light signals the start of the raid. The team enters the portal, leaving the safety of the base. They arrive in a grand hallway, similar to the one before, but darker. Han notes they are the advance party, the tip of the spear. A servant collapses, vomiting black blood, a sign of corruption. Other servants fall in the background, lifeless dolls. The team watches the scene in horror, gripping their weapons. Han grips his shield, ready for combat, sensing the boss. He walks towards the ominous red light pulsing at the end of the hall. A warning message flashes on the screen. Warning. The difficulty spikes as they cross the threshold into the boss room.